was a deliberate.
This man cheats at rock, paper, scissors.
I did not cheat.
You
I
cheated.
go 1, 2, 3, go. You went on 3.
I go on 3 like everybody does. Bop, bop, bang. And you lost. You saw my offering and lost.
Gambled and I lost.
Man, Casey, scissors all the time, apparently.
I mean, everybody thinks somebody's going to throw a rock. I'm a wild card, you know.
Yeah, well, and I did throw a rock, and your logic doesn't add up in any sense. What are you doing? We were at odds at what podcast to bring you today, people. Welcome to 40K Fanatics. I'm Shane.
And I'm Casey.
He's tired, and I just woke up. My life is in utter despair and disarray. I've been playing the new Baldur's Gate 3, and look, in my line of work, which is entertainment and various nonsense, there's nothing to do before 5 o'clock in the afternoon. We're recording this on Wednesday at 6 to get to you by Friday. I use the term
He's
edit.
mainly here just to have something to do.
Yeah. I use the term edit loosely because we leave everything in, as you guys no doubt have noticed. But a lot of times that'll happen around midnight because I'm up. So anyhow, I've been waking up at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so I've just had my coffee and orange juice, and here we are to talk about 40K. And we weren't sure what we were going to talk about. Casey wants to do lore because he lives for the lore. And I want to do gaming because I like to roll the dices.
And we've both been doing a lot of gaming.
We have both been doing a lot of gaming. But first, crack that bits box open, Casey. Lead off.
So, my bits box has been pretty crazy. I am finishing my commission. Well, I'm getting halfway through my commission, I guess. I have fully assembled and primed an entire Imperial Fist Bastion Strike Force box. I still have the Space Marine half of the Leviathan box to do, but man, do I love painting pink to get yellow.
Painting pink to get yellow. So
Google it, it's great.
Yeah, I did yellow yesterday. So a couple pods ago, I talked about how I had bought this, it's kind of a diorama, and it's a metal set of Gunfighter's Ball minis, which are dudes at poker tables. And I glued the legs, the little pewter, bendy, flash-covered legs, to the tops of the chairs. And so I have like 8 spindly chairs and 2 card tables and dudes in sitting poses that are not sitting on anything. And I've been looking at it for 2 weeks, and I just said to myself, I can't right now. I can't. It's so weird. I'm like, do I glue the guy to the chair first? Do I just paint these chairs? I super glued the chair legs to the chair tops. And so I was looking at them and thinking, I've got to clean them anyway because they've got all this mold release. And now they're all covered in whatever that film is that super glue puts on everything, that cloudy stuff. And I'm just like, I'm going to have to get a bowl and soap and an old toothbrush.
Isopropyl alcohol, something.
I just can't. You know what? I don't know. I may put all that in a bag for the future. The only other thing that I had to paint, and I'd have to build it, is the black coach for my Age of Sigmar Night Haunt dudes. And that's like a multi-chunk painting assembly behemoth, right?
It's a big model.
And I was just like, man, I want to paint something, but I am not trying to take on something that is so challenging. I mean, frankly. Like, sometimes you want to sit down and grab something you kind of know and just paint something.
Exactly.
So.
And on top of a few things, I also got a few shipments in from Green Stuff World. I got me some fluorescent, what'd you call that? Fluorescent armored.
Ooh, these are some neat little
neon
tufts.
Pink tufts.
These are some grass tufts, and they're
always wanted those.
They're pink with purple down in them.
Yeah, I love those.
And they're irregularly shaped.
Yeah.
There's a couple of heart-shaped
ones. I thought they'd look
ones.
good on my
Those
Alpha
cute.
Legion, going along with that green.
Yeah, I like that.
On top of that, I finished up that commission for one of our homies named Kane, and I played a game of 40K. I actually played 2. One against Knights, which broke my heart terribly.
You did not score many points on that one, did you?
No, I did not, which is part of the reason why we're doing the topic that we are today. And I played a game last night of 1,000 points against my orcs against Space Wolves.
Oh, that's cool.
Pretty great.
No shooting was done anywhere.
Yeah, melee on melee, and apparently Space Wolves have pretty good melee.
They're spicy as they can be.
Oh yeah, you gotta. Oof.
So
on the charge, buffs all around.
You don't want no parts of them. Man. So back to mine.
Yeah, open up that bits box.
Yeah, what I ended up with is the Marvel Crisis Protocol was talking to me, right? And really just because I got to thinking, what could I get, what could I paint that the friendly local game store has in stock that I could just kind of relax and do. And so I thought, I'm going to get me some MCP guys. I've found the rules. I talked to some people and figured out, like, I didn't want to get just the core box because everybody's got the core box. And the idea is to get a selection of the 90s X-Men from the cartoon and the guest hero cameos from the cartoon. So Spider-Man, Captain America, and Blade, at least. And then I'll have to go back and research who was in what, because I know the Spider-Man cartoon from the 90s also
I loved that X-Men. Cartoon, man.
All of those were excellent. Right?
They were great. And you guys should look that up. It's going to be really cool. We'll be posting pictures of his model coming up soon. What was that model that you painted?
I did Cyclops. So I put together Cyclops and Wolverine to get started.
Looks very, very 90s cartoon.
Oh, yeah, man. I bought Cyclops, Wolverine, Storm, and Beast. And then I got Blade and Moon Knight. And if anybody wants a Moon Knight, you could have him real cheap. Because after that Disney show, I mean...
I liked the Disney show.
It was awful.
I liked it.
It was dumb.
I thought it was cool.
You know what? The SAG-AFTRA writers'
strike
is going on.
I like you, Conchu.
The SAG-AFTRA writers' strike is going on, and I kind of want to see what these scabs can do, if I'm being honest.
Ooh.
Because some of this stuff has been abominable.
That is a very good perspective on that. You know, I never thought of it like that. You know, the people who don't get the chance are now getting the chances to do stuff.
Well, I mean, I don't know if they are getting the chance because there's a little bit of everybody circling the wagons, you know, and even those people that...
A lot of stuff is going off. Like the Bob's Burgers writers have completely stopped writing right now. There's nothing going on with that at all.
Yeah, I mean, they've all stopped writing. However, they probably have a whole season in the can that we'll still get to see.
No doubt.
You know, I was watching... just to finish it, because I've got the time sunk into it, and we're way out in left field now in the bits box.
We are.
We promise we will get back to 40K. I watched the last two
Henry
seasons.
Cavill, make the movie.
Yeah, please. Write it yourself.
Write it yourself. Because none of these writers striking can do it.
Man, I watched the last two seasons of The Flash from the CW, and I'm sitting there... And I'm watching this story, to use a term very loosely, and I'm just thinking, if these guys are on strike, we need to see what the scabs do, because this is just... It
got bad near the end, from what I understand.
I just don't like when characters in anything don't act in any way like... how they've previously been established to be, or like any living people. And I understand that we're superheroes fighting aliens. However, at the same time, you got a whole lot of talks at the coffee shop. And what people are doing, how people are feeling, their motivations for what they're doing and feeling make no sense at all from episode to episode. And it's just like, well... She's sad now because that's what I wrote down, and that's how we get the episode to happen. It's like, oh, okay.
Get Kevin Smith on there, man. He'll do it good.
I don't know. Did you see his He-Man revelations?
No, I didn't. But I've seen a lot of his stuff. He directed a couple episodes of The Flash, from what I understand.
I mean, maybe those are some of the better episodes. I mean, on the whole, The Flash is fine. Just like Arrow was fine. Just like Supergirl was fine. But, you know, they're soap operas with brighter colors.
Oh, my gosh. They totally are.
Where was I in all of this? Anyhow. MCP. So, I painted Cyclops. I've got Wolverine primed gray with a lot of white because, you know, That's a lot of yellow. I'm not good at yellow. I'm not doing anything pink to go yellow.
Pink makes the best yellow.
Well, I want them to look like those 90s cartoons where they're just,
Disney, don't sue me.
We're demonetized. Not that we've ever been monetized. That's a section of the Bits box that we should probably mention. There's been work behind the scenes.
Yes, I have paid for us to have a new logo. Check that out. It's a servo skull and a shield. It looks pretty cool. It's pretty okay. Nothing like too professional, but it's still pretty good. Give it a chance to a guy on Fiverr, and I think he did a pretty good job. So
yeah, I like it. And we are finally, officially, no fooling, on Apple Podcast.
Yes.
So we expect our numbers to go through the roof with all of you people who, like me, exist in the proprietary Apple ecosystem and cannot get out.
Sell out.
I mean, bought in is more like it.
Tell your friends, tell your cat, tell your mom, tell your dad, tell everybody. We are on Apple Podcasts. Give us a follow, give us a shout.
Pro tip, turn it on at episode 1 when you go to bed and put the volume all the way down and just let that sucker play.
Go for it. I think that's about it. What else? You got anything else?
I don't think I do have anything else. I have a game coming up, and I expect to lose. I've got to play a guy and his knights.
Knights. Yeah.
Whole plan.
You want to segue that into the game?
Yeah. I mean, the whole plan is going to be to get Abaddon into the fray with the biggest knight I can find.
Yeah.
As soon as possible. That's going to be the entire scheme, and we'll see what happens. But shut the Bits box, Casey.
Shut the Bits box. Ooh-ch.
Very nice, very nice. Sound effects provided by Casey for extra money. So my topic today, I'm going to drive on this one. Casey's tired, and next week I think we'll do a lore pod or possibly painting. We haven't talked about painting in earnest in a few pods.
Fair.
But I want everyone, on the whole, to stop playing competitive 40K.
Man has a point.
Get at me on the Twitter.
Tell me. Let him cook, people. Let him cook.
Tell
me
how stupid I am and how I just say that because I'm a loser. So, full disclosure, my win rate in 10th edition with my Black Legion, who are entirely put together on Rule of Cool and a lot of characters because I like to paint characters, is 58%. Now,
what? Good.
I mean, I win about as much as I lose, or vice versa, right? There's definitely another L coming this weekend, and I'm okay with that. Why am I okay with that? Well, it's because I submit to the public that war games, miniature games, and trading card games are not good outlets for one's competitive juices. Why? It's because they are not on any kind of equal playing field, and the level of skill required to leverage the what are we going to call them? The advantages inherent in those systems is not that high. So what I'm saying is, I don't think any game that can be fairly easily mathed out is a good way to go for someone to, quote-unquote, compete with others. So I play golf. There's a lot going into the golf that makes it a much more deep and nuanced competition with an adversary. Chess is, of course, totally even where, besides first turn, and then you have, whoever's white versus black, that becomes a thing. But then you play multiple rounds to sort that out. Okay? At the end of the day, this gets down to should you or should you not chase meta? And I think that the answer is absolutely not. And I've got a couple of reasons why.
Hit him with it.
But before I get to that, I want to get into what prompted this. So,
tell him why, Shane.
Man, you know, I'm here for the smoke. Like, get at me on social media. Get at me on Twitter, at 40K Fanatics. Get at me however you want in person. I don't care. We're doing a league. You're in the league. I'm in the league.
Yeah, it's really fun.
The league is really fun. Okay? It's
Kind
a
of.
2,000-point league. It's 6 rounds. And initially it was going to be that you'd play 3 rounds and you could have a list change and you play 3 more rounds. And you just book games with whoever in the community that is also in the league within this couple-month time frame, right?
Yes.
That is the start and stop of the appeal of the thing to me, is that other people who normally either don't get a lot of games in or
or armies that you haven't played.
Yeah. People I haven't played. My whole appeal to the league is that there's going to be more people needing to get games in, which means more games for me to play against a variety of opponents, right?
A rogues gallery, if you will.
Well, I'm just saying that's the fun part. The fun part to me is just get the games in, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so, because I think there's a trophy, but otherwise there was no entry fee.
We have a trophy?
Yeah, I hear there's a trophy.
It better be a good one.
Well, I mean, I don't care if it's a good one or not, because the point to me is that I get to play games with all these people.
Yeah.
And they're motivated to play games by whatever sort of, competitive or otherwise, there's a bit of carrot to get people playing more games, which is great.
What is the stick?
Well, there kind of isn't any stick in this case. There's
what?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. There's no stick. The stick would be it costs you $20 to get in.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right? It's
and
all carrot.
And then you lose half the games, yeah.
Yeah, or whatever. So I'm already up to round 4. So I reach out to the folks, and I'm like, hey, who wants to get round 4 in? And they're like, round 4? Some of us don't even have a round 2 in. And they're going to change. They're going to have a errata here in next month. And then we're talking about whether or not we should pair people for the last 2 rounds. And I'm like, what?
Oh, they're changing the rules up. I didn't know that.
Well, here's the thing. There are people who are more competitive than others.
That is fair.
And, like, a part of me respects their gamesmanship here.
Yeah. Oh.
But what it appears to me is that some people are, and again, this is for a competitive motivation that is all their own, because it's not like there's anything to win at the end of this. But it's like they're slow playing their games
to max their points
so that they can wait on the last possible meta, match that meta, and have the most games they can get with the most powerful stuff that they can amass, right?
Yes. Now, for those of you out there, Shane, why don't you explain what the meta is?
The meta is when Games Workshop or Magic or whoever you want make new stuff and new rules. There is usually some stuff in there that is cheesy or broken or a bit of both, right? I mean, all of these card games, all of these miniature games work on math and synergies. People want to talk about, the skills and the movement. It's like, yeah, the skills and the movement, but you got to go all the way down to the movement to find where the skill ladder exists, right? Because now they've been FAQ'd, but when the Aldari came out, and you could say, I'm going to take my strongest possible shooter, and then I'm going to burn 3 6s on my dice that I rolled to delete one of yours with no question and no interaction. Right? Well, then that's a bit cheese, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now
there's with 10th edition coming out, there have been a few. There was a really quick update because a few armies were kind of like that.
Right, and people that are really trying to compete want to do that kind of thing, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But my point of the pod today is that while that is fine and everybody can do what they want to do, it is a bit silly. There are better things that you can do for your competitive outlet, and there are better things to do with your money, your time, and your effort. Because I mentioned trading card games before. Because those are nearly entirely about the meta chase. Wizards and Magic bring out new cards. They eliminate some old cards. And now the game is figure out of this new batch what you need to buy to maximize the current meta.
Yeah.
And figure out what that meta is. Now, I kind of want to get on a tangent real fast. I feel
You're
like
not already on a tangent.
No. I'm in the meat of the discussion right now.
Okay, let's go. What is it?
I want to get off on a little bit of a tangent about meta chasing on the whole, and that is that I think pre-internet, the card games were probably a lot cooler.
Fair,
because you could have then come up with an idea that not everybody else knew. You could have figured that out in your own little closed gaming group, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like your town has got 25 Magic people, and you figured out that this is the way to get your cheese on, right? And then you may be the only one that knows that's figured that out. Now, you could just go and be like, oh, well, the competition winning list is this, and the computer programs say that these are the most valuable cards, and the galaxy brains have already come up with the most optimal deck.
So many times out there in the world, and it's just, once somebody hears about it, then around the world, all you hear about is somebody else playing the same thing. 9th edition, Orcs got an update. Every Orc army was running cars on cars on cars because some guy won a tournament in California, undefeated, beat the last guy in one turn, done. And then you go way back and you hear, I think it was in like 8th edition, you had the Tau with their 3 Riptides running those things and just beating people right off the board. And next thing you know, everybody's playing Tau. Everybody's playing Riptides, but nobody wants to play them now. And you're kind of making the game, I don't want to say toxic.
Yeah, I don't think it's toxic. I think that the point that the toxicity happens a little bit
attitudes
is a little bit of what is going on with the league, where people are sort of vying for. I saw one poll pop up as like, can we switch factions after 3 rounds? And everybody was like, no, you can't switch factions. Like, what? You want the cheese now and the cheese after the update? Like, come on, man. And my point in all of this is, it's not that serious, because when you play a very broken army against normal people, you get to win. You know what you don't get to do?
Learn.
Well, a little bit. You don't get to play that guy again.
No, that's fair.
You know what I mean? It's like, okay, you absolutely kicked my head in. I almost had no level of participation in the game. I just stood here for 2.5 hours and watched you do stuff. Good on you. You won. I'm not salty about it. However, I'm not signing up for that next week. We're not going to run this back, because why?
Yeah.
It's not fun for me, and I got to imagine, unless you're just so hype to win, wouldn't that get boring?
You have a fair point. The last 2 games I fought in our league, my first round and my second round were both against Knights. Now, a lot of it was on me because I have a very high random and number generating army, and all of my rolls were awful both times. And because of that, it was just me letting him do whatever he wanted, and then I just sat there and watched. And that happened 2 whole games, both 4 hours, and I had to drive 30 minutes to get there. I had a fully painted army. I mean, it was very demoralizing. I'm not blaming those guys, but I am blaming maybe the army a bit, because, well, right now certain armies are very meta-chasey.
Well, here's one little anecdotal evidence to my point. The homie Dallas is playing Necrons, and he's got.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think he literally got the list off the internet, of the cheesy Necron list, and he was explaining to me.
I haven't heard about this.
He was explaining to me how his various reanimation protocols work, so that he ends up having to slow roll all his saves And then by the time it's all said and done, in a whole turn of shooting at stuff, you'll kill like 2 or 3 of his guys, and then he immediately brings them back. And
Dude,
I'm like, Dallas,
I want to fight that so bad. You just piqued my interest.
No, because whatever you're thinking won't work.
I'm not going to think anything. I just want to fight. I'm an orc player, man. I'm for the crumping.
Well, and it'll take you all day, and then at the end of every turn, he'll be like, okay, you killed 2. It took 30 minutes for me to roll these saves, and they're back. And I'm like, is that fun?
I do hate slow rolls. I will say I do hate slow rolls.
But you've got to do it that way because there's feel no pains and there's all this, that, and the other going on, right?
Oh.
Right. So the game is bogged down, and then you're doing nothing to him. So it's like, okay.
A little demoralizing?
Well, it's just we stood here for 3 hours, and I watched you roll a bunch of dice, and then nothing happened. So it's like,
fair.
Let me just give you, because they do walk very slow, his Necrons. I'm like, let me just give you 75 points, and we keep it moving. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm kind of the same way. I'm not in it to win. I'm in it to have fun. And the moment it's not really, if it hasn't been fun the whole time, and we've been there for 3 hours at least, ugh.
I also feel like that there's... I'll get back to my final point.
Go for your final.
Of my big thing, but one more piece of this is I feel like the very, very competitive people that do some meta chasing also try to play very, very, very correctly, right? So you get a whole lot of I dotting and T crossing as you're standing there watching them, and it's like, bro, I'm not that worried about it. Like, just go fast and get it over with, because I can see, like, as soon as one, you know who these people are, and one, they're bringing cheese, and 2, we all keep up a little bit on YouTube with what is cheese, right? So it's like, oh, that's your list? Okay, this is going to be one of those, right? And so I just sort of,
and some, if you hear about them, you they're pretty bad. Well, not bad, but like they're going to be a problem.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And it's I'm not saying I switch off, but like, I am not worried about you stealing a 1/4 inch of movement if you've got the cheese. Like, let's just run them, because this is not going to be close, and we all know it, right? So back to the last thing is that
your final point. Go ahead.
Yeah, my final point, to try and talk some beginner player off of the ledge of the competitive meta chasing thing, is a lot of people that do that find themselves relatively quickly very disenchanted with the entire thing. And it shocks me that this does not happen to the card players constantly. Because Games Workshop, Wizard of the Coast / Magic, Pokemon, what have you, they're all in this to sell stuff and make money. So it behooves them, when a new codex comes out, for that codex to be a little bit better than the last stuff. Because otherwise, we would just all keep the same stuff.
Fair.
So they're banking on you wanting better stuff, right?
Sells models.
It does. And with cards, that's the whole thing is, like, I guess you could have a collection of cards, but I don't know to what end. You're just going to go through and look at them periodically in your binder? I guess you can do that. I feel like a collection of Warhammer is much more interesting, and then that's when we reach why I think that most everybody should be playing Rule of Cool. There's a few things going on. One, the prizes for winning a Warhammer tournament, short of the biggest stuff in the world, do not, like you're not paying back your army. And if it's painted, you're sure not getting your time back.
Fair.
If you paid to have it painted, then you're sure not paying for your army, right? So if you're out here saying, oh, the new hotness is Aldari, but I used to play, Leagues of Votann, man, like, what if you really liked Space Dwarves?
Yeah.
So what now? You're just going to throw them away and buy a whole new thing that maybe you don't even like? And now you're going to put in the time to paint all that too? Like,
exactly.
Is your time worth nothing? And now you've got this thing, and then they come through and they're like, yeah, that was sort of broken. We're going to fix that. And now they're not even the cheesy hotness anymore.
Yes.
And I saw a guy, he mentioned in the thing, he's one of the local homies, and he was like, man, I kind of miss my Tyranids. I got rid of them in, I think he said 8th edition because they were crap.
Oh, no.
And I'm just like, yo, what are you doing?
Tyranids are so awesome. But, yeah, he liked his Tyranids.
Well, and now he doesn't have them because he apparently chased the meta in some other direction. Now the Tyranids are quite playable.
I'm in a similar situation right now myself. I have 3 armies. One is 2K. It's my orcs. I love my orcs. And I have 2 1K armies, my Chaos Space Marines that are Alpha Legion. And then I've got a 1K of Space Marines, which are Flesh Tears. Both lore armies that I love. I played Alpha Legion, even though they weren't, in 9th, even though they weren't that great. I mean, they were good, but they weren't that great. And I love them. And right now, I'm thinking about selling them for extra cash, but I keep backing out because, I really like those armies.
I just think that if you need a competitive outlet, there are much better ways to have that don't feel as manipulative as tabletop war games. And so what I submit to the public is your tabletop wargaming stuff should be similar to your tabletop RPG mentality, where we're just getting together to bang these toys together, tell a story, etc. Because the points, the rules, most all of that works really well if rule of cool is adhered to.
Yeah.
My army versus your army, both at 2,000 points, with no real nod toward, broken synergistic, chemistry, right? Tend to end up with close games.
Mm-hmm.
And close games do create a situation where there is some skill involved in the outcome. I just don't think that if you do a lot of meta chasing, you're ultimately having that much fun, unless your idea of fun is just to, what'd Conan say? to burn their villages and
see the lamentation of their women and their people driven before them.
Yeah, all that, right? I guess, but is that fun?
Fair.
Fair. I mean, I would say to the people that do a lot of competitive 40K and take
go to the
it very
tournaments.
seriously. Well, go to the tournaments. I mean, the league is a tournament, right? I get it.
It's a pseudo tournament.
Well, that's the thing. But I mean, even a tournament that is with prizes and stuff, again, you're paying like $25, $40, $60 to play a whole bunch of games. Now, remember what I said at the beginning. The entire appeal of the league is that people are looking for a bunch of games. And I'm going to get to play with random strangers. That's the appeal. In my opinion, that's the appeal of the tournament, too. If I wanted to get, if a Leviathan box or something is the top prize, like, I've got money to go buy that stuff. Like, is it worth buying, painting to some level, some army that I may or may not care anything about, right? However much that investment is, right? To get whatever is the
new hotness.
Yeah, the new hotness of the moment so that I can win the $60 tournament to win the $250 box of prizes. So I've netted a positive $190 on the day. However, it cost me $500 to get all this stuff
exactly
bought and painted. And do I love it?
No.
And you see some of these guys that Tactical Trevi from Tactical Tortoise is his YouTube channel, and I like him for the real crunchy, ruly stuff. His armies are so minimally painted
Really?
Oh my gosh!
3 coats of paint?
Oh, they're terrible looking. They're just terrible looking.
Awesome.
And he uses little rubber bands to mark what is this gun versus that gun because they're mostly all, like he's got Tyranids and stuff. So
that's great.
They kind of don't look any different, right? So, I mean, and I just feel like that's so sad, right? Because those models are just game tokens. Like, they might as well be checker pieces to him.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, those models could be going to somebody who would really love them, really appreciate them, and keep them for years.
Well, I don't mean I'm not going to be sympathetic toward
In
the life
arms of the angel.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to get sympathetic for the somewhat orphaned, ugly models of his. Like, he can
rescue a mini from eBay today.
He can blow his money on whatever he wants. I'm just like, is this the most fulfilling thing that you could be doing? And I guess he's doing it for a job at this stage. But fine, I'll close with.
Close it.
It is more fun to just get stuff that you think is cool. The game works fine when that's what you do.
Yeah, I mean...
And when the game is working fine, I think it is working at its best.
Exactly.
When an army is working great, I think the game suffers.
Fair. And with like these recent games, something that I can definitely relate to is having your teeth just kicked in and not even getting to play. And then you leave there, and honestly, it makes you want to quit the hobby, the game, everything all together. And what really brought me back was A, sleeping on it, and B, my love of my army.
Yeah, I mean,
also the lore.
That's the thing. There's stuff in this that is going to let you down, and the meta will let you down
every time. The
meta is, she is a flight of fancy, right?
Yeah, there have been people who've bought armies brand new that were doing so hot, and then a few months to a year later, turned off. Worst army in the game. Worst army in the game.
Yeah, Leagues of Votann, we're looking at you.
I feel really rough for those guys. I feel rough for those people.
Look.
Like, the ones that bought them just to win games, I don't feel sympathy for them. But the people who actually bought them because they thought they were interesting, they were a fan of squats, or they thought that Space Dwarves sounded really cool, I feel for those guys.
Well, and look, they could be fixed. Make their ballistic skill 3 instead of 4. What are we doing, GW? What were they thinking?
Yeah, they're lower the ground. They're a more stable structure.
I mean, everything is ballistic skill 3. Like, all kinds of Space Marines, all kinds
not
of
orcs
stuff. Well, of course not orcs, because they hit on 2s in combat,
and they don't aim.
Right. I mean, look. Some armies are bad on purpose, right? But
fair.
But the Leagues of Votann, with all their high-tech weaponry, all of a sudden being out here shooting like guard with no tanks makes no sense. And you know what? I think if I were going to go and play somebody, like if I were going to go play the homie Chris and his Leagues of Votann, I'd be like, look, man, all your troops hit on 3s. What?
Oh, so you work with them?
Well, why can't I?
I mean, yeah, if you're doing, if
I'm not
you're both cool,
I'm not talking for the league and all that because
just a friendly game.
Yeah, if me
couple
and Chris
beers with the boys,
if me and Chris are going to just come
floor hammer,
knock our stuff together, baby.
Yeah,
then I'm going to say, all right,
Jimmy your jams.
Yeah, if we're going to be Jimmying our jams, then I'm going to be like, you know what, your dudes hit on 3s because otherwise this isn't going to be fun for you, and it's not going to be that fun to me because I'm just going to come up here and kick the bleep out of you.
Exactly.
I tell you, another one that I've seen people do is Death Guard. Is they make all the troops have an extra wound, so they end up with 3 wounds instead of 2.
Is that for the fun? They're doing this for the fun.
Yeah, okay, for the fun, and it's probably the balance they actually need. And then all of their vehicles have a 5+ invuln.
I would love to fight some Death Guard.
I would too, except
no one's playing them.
They're collecting dust because they're a bunch of 2-wound models with no invuln save, and the chunky, resilient Death Guard are not.
They were hot for quite a while.
Well, yeah, because you couldn't get them off the table.
Yeah,
but think about it.
What about
if you made him 3 wounds instead of 2? And I know because my army has chosen, which are 3 wound little troop dudes, and it's like that extra wound makes it so much harder to get a guy out of there.
Fair.
You end up with so many guys with 2 wounds on him, 1 wound remaining, and now he's going to hit you back.
What's going on with Tau right now? What is the deal with Tau?
The Tau are involved in a bit of a stew as to whether or not they can chain their guidance together.
Okay.
Which I'm not sure what the guidance does. I think it offers +1 to hit, but it has to do with like stuff that is and is not eligible to shoot. And so the question, and I may be getting this terribly wrong, let me know in the comments, but I believe it has to do with if a thing's already shot, does it or does it not count as eligible to shoot? Because if it is eligible to shoot, then it shot and now it can guide the next guy, and so you daisy chain this guidance all around. So you essentially end up hitting on 2s with everything constantly.
Whoa.
Right.
Okay, I guess so too. Okay, yeah, that's a little weird.
Well, it's an interaction that has a lot of question around it, and it does not seem to be what they meant. But that's how people play it. So, we'll see. That's the thing, right? They're about to do another balance, and we will talk about it.
Oh, are they?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know where people get this information, but allegedly there's a balance coming in September.
I always hear about it through the grapevine, honestly. I'm
Same.
hearing about it through the grapevine right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think that's all I've got. Check us out on Spotify, on Apple Podcast, on YouTube, where the entire episodes... By the way, it's Wednesdays we're recording this, and I saw that the new YouTube episode on Kill Team, which you should really check out. You should play some Kill Team. It is a tight rule set, Kill Team. There is cheese in it.
Love it.
But it's good, and the game only takes you 45 minutes once you know it, so you can run it back and see if it's really broken or if you're just bad. Anyway, the YouTube pod came out on like this Tuesday.
Yeah.
Were you slacking, Casey?
Man, this league just got in the way of a few things. On top of we had a lot of production stuff going on. We have a new logo. Guys, go check that out. That's on all of our socials as well. I've been putting in a lot of serious hours trying to figure out how to get us on Apple Podcasts, and it finally paid off actually just 2 hours ago. And it is there. It's on Apple Podcast. Every episode. Go check us out. We're on YouTube. All the podcasts are on Podbean as well.
Tell me how much you hate everything that I have said on the 40K Fanatics Twitter.
Oh, I'll do it.
Because I imagine that this is going to...
It's probably going to ruffle some feathers.
Yeah, it's going to infuriate some people. They're just going to be like, you're a loser. It's like,
you kind of added people without adding people, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, but I mean... So
I don't know them, but I have the league on mute anyways, because they love to talk.
It is... There are a number of 40K Facebook message chats that are just continual, which is kind of nice when you want to just jump in and...
Speaking of which, if we're thinking about doing a Discord, if anyone is thinking about that, wanting to do that with us, let us know. Give us a shout. It's up in the air.
We're thinking about a Discord and a Patreon pairing type thing.
We just don't want to hop on and there be 2 other guys.
Yeah, we want to hang out with you guys. We want a place where you could talk about your games, where we could chat about painting and models and various armies, where you could get, where you could suggest topics for the whole show, things like that. Possibly we could have one of those things where we take and judge your models the way that we did ours the other day, and have that on the YouTube, and that could be fun, because I know there are many better painters than me.
Go support us. Tell everybody you can about us.
Yeah,
because we need money. Well, we need fans.
Why are we doing this?
We're not doing it for just money. We're doing it because we're 40K fanatics, and we love 40K. Whether it's the hobby, whether it's the game, whether it's the lore, we love all of it. So, I've been Casey, your local lore master.
And I'm Shane.
The game master.
Stop competing so hard.
Yeah, chill out, people.
Have more fun.
Sportsmanship, not gamesmanship.
We'll see you next time.
See you guys.